What if existence could fall forever without ever colliding? What if depth existed, but nothing could stay? Tartarus gave the universe permanence. Mistakes no longer dissolved. They sank, they remained. But permanence alone is not structure. A universe can remember and still have no shape. Things can descend endlessly through being. They can fall without resistance, without interruption. They can move without ever being forced to respond. For existence to matter, something must interrupt motion. Something must remain long enough to be affected, long enough to create pressure.
Cosmos trembles.
And this is where Greek myth introduces Gaia. Not as a ruler, not as a decision, not as a force with intent. Gaia arrives because permanence demands support. When depth exists, weight becomes meaningful. And when weight exists, ground becomes inevitable. Gaia is not an answer to chaos. She is an answer to collapse because now nothing can simply pass through existence. Now there is ground. Gaia is often imagined as comfort. A mother warm, protective Greek myth is not interested in comfort. Gaia is not defined by desire. She does not plan the future. She does not choose outcomes. She does not judge behavior. She does not decide what should exist or what should disappear. She simply exists, and because she exists, everything else must adapt. Gaia introduces no laws. She declares no rules. She issues no commands. She introduces a condition. Weight, pressure, resistance, existence. Now encounters something it cannot ignore. This is the first true constraint in Greek cosmology. Not morality, not authority, but physics. Gaia does not tell beings how to behave. She shapes behavior through consequence alone. This is why her power cannot be challenged, because nothing can argue with ground. Before Gaia, existence drifted. Forms appeared, but nothing forced them to remain. Opposition was possible, but temporary. Nothing had to stay long enough to matter. Gaia changes that. She introduces the first limit. Not a boundary enforced by will. Not a rule declared by power, a physical limit. Something can only move so far before it meets resistance. Something can only fall so fast before it impacts. This is the moment direction becomes real. Up and down gain permanence. Above and below are no longer relative. For the first time, existence must respond to pressure. This is not morality, this is structure. Limits do not explain themselves. They do not negotiate. They simply exist. And because they exist, everything else must respond. Conflict does not begin with hatred, it begins with persistence. Before Gaia, different forms could overlap. They pass through each other without consequence. They coexisted without friction. Ground changes that. When forms endure, they occupy space. When they occupy space, they exclude others. When exclusion exists, opposition becomes possible. This is not evil, it is structural. Conflict is not a moral failure. It is a consequence of stability. Greek myth does not imagine a peaceful universe ruined by violence. It imagines a neutral universe made tense by structure. Gaia does not create enemies. She creates boundaries where interests collide. Once something can remain, it can be defended. Once it can be defended, it can be fought over. Gaia does not rule through command. She rules through inevitability. Her power does not persuade. It does not threaten. It does not negotiate. Gods can argue, gods can deceive. Gods can overthrow one another. None of them can remove the ground beneath their feet. They stand on Gaia. They rule above her. They fight upon her, but they do not control her. This creates a quiet anxiety within Olympus. Power floats, ground endures. The gods are powerful but never secure, because they depend on something they cannot command. Gaia does not need worship. She does not need fear. She remains, and remaining is enough. Gaia does not replace Tartarus. She does not compete with depth. She rests above it. Depth creates consequence. Ground creates stability. Together they trap existence between permanence and resistance. Without Tartarus, mistakes could be undone. Without Gaia, nothing would remain long enough to matter. This is why Greek myth feels heavy. Actions do not vanish. They do not drift away, they land. They sink. The universe now has memory, and memory creates fear. Not cruelty, not malice. Fear born from knowing nothing is temporary anymore. Gaia is respected but not adored. She is too impersonal for love, too unyielding for mercy. You cannot bargain with ground. You cannot escape it. You cannot outgrow it. The gods do not pray to Gaia. They rely on her, and reliance is not devotion. Her presence reminds every being of limitation. To exist now means to exist somewhere. And to exist somewhere means vulnerability. Greek myth understands the deepest fears are not monsters. They are conditions. With ground comes territory. With territory comes ownership. With ownership comes conflict. Before Gaia, nothing could truly be claimed. After Gaia, things can be held. This is the birth of borders, not drawn by gods, not declared by law, but enforced by space itself. Something cannot occupy a place already taken. Something must yield or resist. This is the first political structure in the universe. Not kingship, not hierarchy. Location. Violence does not begin with ambition. It begins with limitation. Gaia does not desire war. She does not provoke it. She does not celebrate it. She makes it possible. Without ground, armies cannot gather. Without resistance, battles cannot be fought. Without endurance, victories cannot be held. War requires persistence. Persistence requires ground. Greek myth does not blame Gaia for what follows. She does not cause the wars of gods and titans. She removes their impossibility. Allowance is enough. With Gaia, the universe becomes heavy. Movement slows. Consequences accumulate. History begins. This is the end of cosmic innocence. Not because evil appears, but because permanence does. The universe gains a past, and a universe with a past must face its future. Greek myth does not celebrate this moment. It does not mourn it. It accepts it. Because acceptance is the only response to structure. The gods rule aggressively because they know this. They depend on what they do not control. Gaia does not obey them, they rely on her. This silent dependence explains mythic tension. Why power feels unstable. Why authority must be constantly asserted. Power floats ground, endures, and Gaia belongs to no one. The gods believe they rule the universe. Greek myth quietly disagrees. They rule above Gaia. They do not rule. Her dominion is not force. It is control of conditions. The gods command storms, oceans, fate itself, but not ground. This is why rebellion is possible. No throne is rooted in absolute control. History requires memory. Memory requires endurance. Gaia makes events stay. Before her, nothing accumulated meaning. After her, actions leave traces. This is why myth can exist. Stories require stability. They require location. They require consequence that persists. Gaia does not tell stories. She makes them possible. She is the archive of existence. Even after gods rise, Gaia does not disappear. She remains beneath them. They rule above her. They fight upon her. They fear losing control of what she supports. Gaia does not age. She does not retreat. Depth does not evolve. Ground does not evolve, it endures. Things matter now because they stay lost. Hurts because it cannot be undone. Failure matters because it cannot be reversed. Greek myth hurts because Gaia exists. Without her, tragedy would dissolve. With her, its scars, existence is no longer a rehearsal. Gaia does not rule the universe, but she defines it. She sets conditions. She makes disobedience costly. This is the strongest form of power. Invisible, impersonal, unavoidable. The deepest forces never announce themselves. They remain. The universe now has shape, it has direction, it has resistance, forms can collide, opposition can persist, history can unfold. The stage is set, not for peace but for narrative, not for harmony but for consequence. The universe is standing. Gaia does not cause the wars of gods and titans. She makes them possible. She does not rule Olympus. She defines its anxiety because power only matters when something deeper exists beneath it. Ground and now nothing can simply drift away.